Well, welcome to Holland back again. We're back for this new season, 2022-2023. That's the season, and we are proudly very appreciative of the sponsors. We're part of the Amber Circle Group, and we're sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Pearson's Bar. Ant's not here, so I'm hosting. So you can blame Ant if this goes terribly. But we're just going to have a bit of a chat about some Championship overall predictions and our predictions for Hull City specifically. And well, we might want to talk about pre-season as it's a season preview, but really it was so miserable in terms of the results. I don't really know whether we'd want to do that. So I'm Nathaniel Whitto, and who are you, Will?
It's West Sutton FM's Nathaniel Whitto, as joined
Indeed
by
it is.
William Young.
I have got my badge. There we go. For audio listeners, I'm now lifting up my 106.9 West Hull FM badge. And I've had an exciting day because I was at the press conference today, and I tweeted furiously about all the sort of news that was at the press conference with the new 8 signs, Adjan Ilagella and Tan Kessler. No, not Tan Kessler. Shota Arveladze. And that was a really good experience, but I don't think we'll talk about that too much. There wasn't a huge amount of news.
Maybe bring up a little later
about that when there's more of us. So shall we just get into, well, really, how are you feeling? The game is tomorrow. How are you feeling ahead of Bristol City tomorrow?
I am fucking excited because football is back. Well, I say football is back. The Women's Euros has been great. So football's been back for a few weeks. But in terms of Hull City, I'm just glad that we're finally there. And I'm not win, lose, or draw. I'm just glad that I'm going back to the KC with mates, getting smashed, and just having a good time.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's been too long. I've not been watching the women's football. I'm terrible, so it's felt like an even longer wait. And we've not done very well over pre-season, so it'd be nice to actually play some teams we might do well against. And the game tomorrow, it'll be a huge crowd. It'll be even bigger than the Leicester game. That was the major positive out of pre-season from the Leicester game, which was that the attendance was so big, bigger than league matches this time last year. Well, it was 13,000 instead of 10.
When you look on the ticket site at the moment, it looks like all of East, North and West have been sold out. So there's going to be at least 15,000 there, which is, compared to recently, it's a massive increase. And it just shows that you don't have to change the name to become a popular brand.
Yes.
And become liked by the fans. And what can I say more than that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. A ridiculous notion that we would have had to change the name to become popular. Because, I mean, I was at the conference, Adjan was saying that we were going to get lots more merchandise and that was going to be sold in Turkey soon. That, big groups in Turkey want to get the rights to sell Hull City merchandise officially there. And we've not changed the name at all. So I think what he's done in that regard has been very positive this pre-season.
Let's try and do. I might put a bet that who's the first person who's going to mention them. The previous family who was in charge. I'm going to try not to mention them ever again involved in Hull City because
the former Hull City owners THAB and Assem Alam. Those.
So do I win any money?
Do I win money or not?
No, you're losing.
We didn't say whether the bet. Oh well, how much have I lost?
£72 million.
£72 million. And who gets it? Is it you?
I'll give it to Angel. Mate, because I invest in transfers.
Well, yes, we can sign a few new players with that. So, shall we get into some Hull City predictions for this season?
Can do.
Well, run them by us, Will, because I haven't got them here.
Well, that's a good start. That's a great start, Nathaniel Hurst.
I didn't know I was doing this. Ant has abandoned us.
We'll go on, but he's abandoned us. And decided not to appear with an hour left because he left his laptop at home. Silly man. But we could go.
He's here in
First
spirit.
thing we should talk about is probably the transfers. What would you rate out of 10? I know I'm saying this because I'm going to disagree with that concept entirely in a minute. What would you rate the transfer window been for us out of 10?
Well, for the players in, I think I'd be very confident to say it's like an 8 out of 10. I mean, we've spent money, but we've also been astute in signing Figueiredo, Seri, Tete, and Estepinian for free, and Baxter's a loan deal. So we've only spent transfer fees on a few players, but we've brought in great quality. Most of the players we've signed, if not all of them, are better than who we've let go. When you look at Smallwood, we liked him, but Seri, because Smallwood had won a League One title, Seri had won a Championship title. Surely that's an improvement. Estepinian has scored lots of goals in Portugal, but Eves, who left, and Forshoot, who we don't have anymore, they scored hardly any goals in this league. So I think for the players in, I'd be very happy to say an 8. We're not quite done yet, but if you were to bring in as well the players we've let go, I think pretty much all of them except Lewis Potter and Honeyman, I'm not too sad to see go, really. But we need to replace Honeyman because we need a little bit more depth in midfield, and we are going to sign that number 10 midfielder. So that maybe would go up to a 9 if we get someone better than Honeyman in my eyes. But of course, the worst bit is losing Lewis Potter. But then again, I think we had to sort of do that if we wanted to spend this money, because we haven't got parachute payments. Adrian said it today, we have financial limitations in this league. And so I think Lewis Potter has actually enabled us to sign Cynic, Tufan and Aliar, which maybe we wouldn't necessarily have been able to do, all three of them perhaps, and the bigger wages. So with Lewis Potter and Honeyman going out, 7, but players in, 8 players, 8 out of 10 for me. What about you, Will?
Fair enough. In terms of players going out, I agree for the most part. I think I understand why a lot of them have gone. They're not really going to be involved in the plans long term at all. It's a shame. I mean, obviously Honeyman's a big loss for me. I always like Honeyman, but feels like the club and obviously the club and the player can't agree. It makes sense to let them go. Smallwood's a weird one because it felt like the club didn't let him know until very late, until barely the last second that he was going, which feels a bit dodgy to me. And I love Smallwood, and I feel like, considering he was our captain, we deserved a better send-off. With Keane Lewis Potter, based on what Adrian had said when he brought up was it Adrian or Tan who had brought up in the interview about his agent? I think it was Adrian. About his agent influencing him. If that's all true, obviously we don't know if it's true or not, it's all hearsay. But if that's all true, I'm fine with him going because he's a player who clearly doesn't want to be at the club at this point. Adrian, and to be honest, me as well, I want players who want to be at the club. I understand. Obviously, he's a fantastic player and he's going to move on leaps and bounds. I do think he's left too early. I think he's going to be a season early, but I'm fine with him going for 20 million as well. I know obviously Adrian had said, I want 30 million or nothing. I said, but that was assuming he didn't want to leave. When a player wants to leave, you've got to be a bit more realistic about it. In terms of incoming, I'm very happy with all of them. The thing is, I don't really want to judge any of the players properly until a bit into the season, to be honest, because it's hard to say. Obviously they play pre-season, but pre-season's never ever accurate in terms of how the season's going to go. So it's always about fitness. So for me, I wouldn't judge most players. Obviously, it'll be obvious if they're not good enough very early on. But I wouldn't judge, like when people say don't judge the table until about 10 games in, I'd say the same for most players as well. So I think ratings-wise at the moment, if that's a feeling, I'd agree with you about 7.5, 8, both ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think we've got a very tough start. The first 2 games, Preston and Bristol, are fairly reasonable. But then after that, we've got Norwich, Burnley, QPR, Coventry, and Sheffield United somewhere. Yeah, it'll be tricky. And we've got 11 injuries. And the players we've got, only a few of them, or the new signings anyway, are actually fully fit. Some of them are injured already, like Traore and Cynic. Cynic's only going to be out for the next 4 weeks. So probably about probably by about the 10th game, he'll be fully fit, hopefully, and actually playing. But yeah, it's a new team for Shota to manage. It's a new country for a lot and a new language for a lot of the new players, and they've not played with each other before. And we've got those tough fixtures. Perhaps it's actually good we are playing those tougher games early on, get them out of the way. Maybe we would struggle anyway, and hopefully around the 10th game we've played some of these relegated teams, for example, in recent years. After that, hopefully we're doing well after 10 games, but I think it will be this season more than most, and this club more than most, judging after 10 or 12 games. Shota said that at the conference today. That's probably a wise thing to do. But we've signed 8 players. Who do you think is the best of the lot so far?
It feels like an obvious answer, but Seri.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the highest caliber. He was probably the highest paid, and he's could have gone to Barcelona at some point. Just 5 years ago, was it? 4 or 5 years ago.
He was linked with him when he was at Nice. Yeah.
I think he was actually supposed to go there, wasn't he? And that fell through for whatever reason. But even if he'd just been at Nice.
Which, considering Barcelona managed to sign everyone at the moment, that's a surprise.
Well, maybe that was back when they actually followed the rules and they didn't sign him. But maybe they just decided not to. But he was close to that.
A close second for me would probably be, obviously it's the obvious answer, probably Baxter coming back, to be honest. Because I thought he had such a good season. I think his stats were, for most of the, I know statistics don't win football matches really, but in terms of goalkeeping, like shots saved per minute and all them sort of things, I think he was top of most of those tables. But because he'd not played a lot of games, it kind of ruled him out of being considered one of the better keepers in the league. He didn't play enough really, and I think obviously this season, I like Ingram, but Baxter's obviously going to be first choice. So I think, and the fact that it's loaned to a permanent makes me quite confident that we're gonna, if he continues as he is, he will be ours at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we get promoted, definitely. And if we have a decent season, and of course he's injured for the moment, he might struggle to get into the team again ahead of Ingram, because I think we're actually very blessed.
Ingram's a great keeper as well.
They're 2 solid keepers, aren't they? Really, like sometimes we've actually had a lot of good goalkeepers recently. I feel like they've always been towards the top of our list of best players. Maybe that's because we're, the last few years have been pretty tough, so they've faced more shots. But I think he might struggle. But yeah, if we do well, we've had him for 2 years on loan, and maybe another 3 or 4 or something if we sign him permanently. I think that's good. And he said at the conference that it was a good thing for the club that he'd signed, to show other loan players that not only have we got Baxter, who's a great player from Chelsea, but he's enjoyed it here so much that he's come back for another year. And that's a really good... Yeah, exactly. It's sort of a different thing, but Fenerbahce is still a big club. They're like the Chelsea of Turkey, aren't they, really? So I think it is a real big sign, and that shows the ambition. Because I think, was it Shota or someone recently said that they'd struggle to get English players in, or players from England, and convince them here. But we are looking at a few in England now, and I think what Baxter said is part of the reason for that, because they're happy that they can see that he's come back. I wouldn't have chosen Baxter as my second best signing. I think Estepinian's certainly got the potential to be, because
they're all unknowns. It's a very unusual thing for me. So that's why I thought Baxter, I know. So it's kind of, I hope he completes his numbers that he was doing in Portugal, but it's just hard to know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the Portuguese league's pretty well, respected, and of course, like Turkey.
I would say it's probably the best league outside of the Big Five. Probably.
That's what I've always thought. I mean, it's slightly off topic, but you got Spain, Italy, France, Germany,
England.
And then you've got Portugal and Holland, I think, or the Dutch league. And then slightly below that, you've probably got Turkey and Ukraine and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I maybe put Turkey with that for those with Portugal and Holland.
Yeah, perhaps. And of course, he's been at a big club who got into Europe, and it's a surprise that maybe he didn't want to stay with them, or maybe they didn't offer him anything very good. But yeah, but then again, I think the reason why I've put Seri as the top is because Seri is as good as he is, because he's a defensive player. We're going to have more of the ball, whereas Estepinian will only be as good as we allow him to be by giving him the service. From what I've seen, he's not like a Harry Kane, drops deep and passes the ball around. He's a big lump who scores lots of headers. And
he's a Tom Eaves type.
He's a Tom Eaves type. He's not as tall as Eaves, but yeah, he's definitely, scores lots of headers.
He has a good leap on him.
Well, he certainly does, because we saw similar stats from Eaves when we signed him. He'd scored the most in the EFL headed-wise, headed goals for the last 2 years. I think that's the same with Estepinian in Portugal, banging in the headers. And but then, yeah, if we get the crosses in, he'll play very well. I'm not overly... I think our wing-backs are good crossing. I'm not sure about the wingers exactly, but I think he's definitely got the potential. And, it's a bit... When I saw we were linked with him, I thought we'll never get him because he's played in Portugal. That's a huge thing. But
he feels like a player who should be at a better club. Yeah, and I think, of course, he was in Europe. Maybe he was at a bigger club, but I think that just shows the ambition that we've got, that we've been able to meet with him, or not meet with him, that we've got him. And Adjan met with him 6 times, and at the conference he said that it was in a TV break that allegedly convinced him to sign finally. He had like a long TV break between, one of his shows, and he was on the phone to Oscar telling him to sign halfway through a TV show. He needs to calm down. He needs to calm down.
Oh, Adjan is, yeah, he said it's been a whole lot harder than he thought it was going to be. And in the press today, Tan Kessler is allegedly a coffee addict, has 12 cups of coffee before lunchtime every day. So obviously, I know, that's insane, isn't it? And Adjan's been on the phone like 5 hours a day. Of course, he would do that because of his media role.
I would like to work when the transfer window's over.
Yeah, it's a nice nap.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much work they put in.
I'll say what Ant told us on what his predictions were for the 2 transfers. Tend to give it a 7 out of 10. It's good business, but not really enough domestic signings for him personally. It's a gamble, sort of, when most of the side haven't experienced the championship, which is fair enough, to be fair. And he's, for him, the best signings, Aliyah. He's excited to see what he has a full season under his belt, which is fair play, because in the last few games of the season, he was probably my favourite player on the pitch.
Oh, he's great to watch, isn't he? He's one of those players like San Maximan or something, where they just, when they're on the ball, you're excited because of the dribbles he's going to do. It's amazing. The thing about the domestic signings, I can understand that because we've not actually, Baxter's the only one we've actually bought from an English club. But 5 of the 8 players have played in England, haven't they?
That's the thing.
Seri Figueiredo,
experience of English football,
Tufan,
a lot of
Leon Baxter. So it's not that terrible. 2 of them got promoted, and that's a huge thing. Baxter's played in England lots. Aliyah he's only played like 10 games, but then Tufan and then of course
one of my mates is a Watford fan though, and obviously if you ask him, he may have played in the Prem, but he didn't play very well in the Prem.
The Championship is nowhere near as good as the Premier League, though. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that.
It's a different sort of football as well.
It's different football, and
I think it's a bit more physical game in the Championship.
And they'll have the ball more than Watford. We should be playing better than Watford did last year because at home, was it 11 home defeats in a row? That's just humiliating. And of course, he was part of that. But then again,
he's also playing for Watford at a high level as well.
True, but then again, the thing about, you can say that Tufan was a part of an awful Watford team, but the 2 parts is that you can look at it in 2 ways. He didn't actually play for Watford, so it's not his fault that they were rubbish. And the other one is that he's so bad he couldn't even get into Watford's team. So I don't know which one to think about, but I'll be optimistic and say if Tufan had played every minute, they would have stayed up. Maybe we can think that. But I think Seri and Estupiñán the top two.
Yeah, and for me, obviously, Seri and Baxter. Who do you think is going to be our top scorer?
Greaves. No. I think Estupiñán could be.
I appreciate it.
If we have a good season, I think it's because Estupiñán's been the top scorer. And, I mean, the goals need to come from somewhere because Aliar, his end product at the moment isn't quite good enough, I think. He can be a goal scorer, but
it's funny that because my prediction is Aliar.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if he gets into the positions,
it's just the way he plays, he's just so unpredictable. I feel he might have a bit of a. It is a compliment. I know some people would consider it a compliment, but he feels like he might have like a bit of the Malik Wilks in League One type season.
Yeah, so good.
Some people would consider that an insult because it's Wilks, but I don't.
Yeah, well, Wilks in League One is. I mean, you always see like Peter Whittingham.
I'm very surprised. Very surprised Grant McCann's not coming for him, to be honest.
Well, I'll get onto that in a second, but you always look at the Championship players as like McCormack and Rhodes and Peter Whittingham as the best ever Championship players. Given, especially if he goes on and has a third season with Peterborough or Sheffield Wednesday, Wilks will surely be looked at as one of the best League One players because he's had already 2 amazing seasons, like 22 goal involvements in both times. Wilks in League One is very good.
I couldn't comment on the quality of League One. We've not been in it for such a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't even remember.
For me, Bambi's the greatest ever League One player. So
we didn't. No City fan has seen Hull play in League One in person for ages. So, yeah. But the other thing is, they're selling Schmodix. Peterborough's selling Schmodix to Blackburn apparently. So, you would think with that money they are straight on to Wilks.
I wouldn't be surprised if he inquired about him anyway. There's probably plenty of other players that could go for, but just because he's had such a good relationship with Grant and he can do it in League One. It just seems like a good fit for him.
It's like, Lampard and Mason Mount or Nico Kranjčar and Harry Redknapp. They just go together. You'd think McCann would want more signing for every team he's at. Yeah, that sort of thing.
That's the classic.
Steve Bruce and his son.
Bruce.
Yeah. Might have only signed him for like one club. But, El Mohammadi. He signed El Mohammadi 3 times, I think. So, yeah.
So, following on, obviously, I don't know. Obviously, I didn't predict top scorer because I didn't ask him to. So, I've just kind of thrown him on the way.
It's probably Estupiñán.
Obviously, he predicted probably Andy Cannon as top scorer. So, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be our best player overall, then? It's a big question.
Yeah.
So it gets to the end of the season. We've got the player of the season. Who for you is going to be picking up that trophy that KLP is going to be giving?
Ryan Longman, obviously. I've got to mention.
For asking.
No,
why did I
a serious answer. I think Longman might not actually play a huge amount this year anyway, but I think, Greaves, if the defence stays really good and he actually stays at the club, then he could definitely be player of the year. Estupiñán, if he's the top scorer, which I think he will be, top scorers usually get the credit, don't they? But then I think Seri is going to be, such a big presence for us. He's going to play a lot. He's going to be the professor. I think maybe it's obvious, but I think Seri's definitely got that quality. He looks really class, and I think maybe we'll give it to him.
Attacking players are always have an advantage in those sort of awards as well.
Oh, absolutely, because you don't remember. Nobody says, "Oh, look, Seri won 20 tackles."
The whole city, a lot of defensive players have won those awards. Like Michael Dawson won it, Michael Turner won it. Players like them have always won it as well. So
Davis,
he's not out around.
Might have. I think maybe Curtis Davis would have won it. Who would have won it when we got promoted? Who would have won that? Because can't really think of anyone who stood out.
I'm pretty certain.
Livermore?
saying I think Davis won it. I think Davis won it the FA Cup season, from memory.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I think probably, and that was he's a defender. So yeah,
right. On here,
I think Greaves is more likely.
Since it was introduced, here you go. This is a list. Mark Greaves has won it. Ian Goodison's won it. Damien Delaney's won it. Andy Dawson, Michael Turner, Anthony Gerrard, Curtis Davis, Michael Dawson. So plenty of defenders have won it for us. Yeah. And I'm going to go with your original answer. And for me, I think it's Jacob Greaves as well if he stays. But that's because I am to Greaves what you are to Longman.
Yeah, I think Greaves probably will stay because I don't necessarily see him being bought by a Premier League club yet.
But what a Premier League club who was looking after it, it was Middlesbrough who were looking at him.
Yeah, and Watford apparently, but that's been rubbish.
I did write down an alternate in case he does leave. I did write down an alternate just in case he does leave. So it gets to the end of the season and he's left. I don't look too horrendously stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an outside of the box one. It's more my personal preference, and it's Regan Slater. Because I think Regan Slater is going to have a very nice season next to Seri.
Yeah, that's the thing. We can maybe move on to the formation we think we're going to play. Because I think we're probably definitely going to play three at the back. But
we go back to saying we haven't got a replacement for Smallwood, but I argue we do in Regan Slater.
I think Slater has played defensive midfielder, but I don't think that's what he is. I think he is more just box to box.
I think we're going to play a different formation as well from what we had with Small.
I think what we're probably going to play when the players are fit, we've spent the money on Cynic and Aliar, so you're going to play them. And you can't play them both if you're playing a two up front, I think, because they're not going to play wing back, and I think you're going to want an actual bigger striker who's a centre forward rather than like a winger or one of these wishy-washy vague forwards that McCann like to sign. So I think we all play 3-4-3, and if you've also spent the money on Tufan and Tufan's playing well, and Seri, is probably going to play, where will Slater play? So I think if we play the formation that I think we will play with the wingers, maybe Slater won't get in the team. But then again, he probably deserves to be there because he's, for 50 grand. Well, not just for 50 grand. He's clearly a very good player. Sheffield United
might as well be a free transfer, to be honest, at that point, the way football is.
Yeah, 50 grand is one of Seri's old, weekly wages, isn't it? Which is nothing really.
Exactly.
So,
I do like the symmetry if it does come down to it, because obviously Mark Greaves, his dad won Player of the Year. I'd like to see Jacob Greaves win it as well.
Yeah, I think Slater, that's a decent enough shout. Maybe young player of the year, perhaps. But I think Slater's a great player, and I think it would be good to have him in midfield. But I'm just not overly convinced that he will play, possibly. That shows we've got good options in midfield.
Yeah, true.
He might do. I think perhaps it's more likely Slater is going to play better than Tufan, because Tufan, got quality, but is he up for the challenge? Perhaps these days at Watford and his fitness, he's sometimes named too fat, isn't he? So I've seen him called that. So perhaps it's less likely. Perhaps he's his fitness levels aren't up, where they need to be for the Championship, and Slater definitely would be. But I think Slater will play on tomorrow, Saturday, but I'm just not. If things go well and Tufan's amazing and the wingers are amazing, then he won't play, I think. And Coyle's the captain, so Slater has played right wing back, but he's not going to play there. So perhaps, but I think he won't play. Sorry.
Despicable behaviour. Adam's watching. Bloody hell.
Best opinion. Yeah. If he's watching, he should just be on here.
Yeah.
We miss you, man.
But he has got the correct choice for player of the season. Now he's telling us of Jacob Greaves. I completely agree. And anyone else who says otherwise is wrong. But anyway,
me, then.
Where do you think we're going to finish?
I don't know. Well, I did my season predictions. I did the league table prediction this time, or at some point this week. And I thought we're so difficult to predict because we don't really know a huge amount about Shota. We don't really know how the players are going to do.
I'm loving
there's,
it.
There's so
I'm
many
loving the
unknowns.
unpredictability of our team.
I know it is. It's exciting.
Whenever you look at people's predictions, we're either in the top 6 or in the bottom 3. It's rare that we're mid-table. Yeah. It's one or the other, and it feels like fuck knows what's going to happen.
I know it really could be anything. I don't think we'll go down because if we're that,
I do think we'll be better than last season, but I don't. Well, what was you going to say? Sorry, about your position.
Well, we've definitely got enough quality in the team that if things were going badly, you would sack Shota and someone else would come in and we'd get a lift, and you'd get eventually, once the fitness issues and the gelling gets done,
get Nick Bambi back in as player manager.
Yeah,
that's always my go-to.
We're too good to go down. I'm doing.
I hear that.
What are these quotation marks?
2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football.
Yeah. Is it 2-0 in the Burnley game, or are you just saying that? It's a cliche, yeah. I don't think we won't let it get so bad that we go down because we've got the quality to stay up, I think. But we might linger towards the bottom, and maybe Ajin will think, well, we'll give Shota another year. But I think 11th. I said I probably would say 12th, but that's just too down the road. And I think we're slightly better than 12th, so I think 11th is fair enough. But I think it will probably be anywhere between, because the thing is, 12th sounds not very close to the playoffs, but pretty much all the teams last year between like 14th and about.
It was really close to playoff race for a long time.
Like teams like Coventry and Blackburn and QPR, who had a really good playoff push, they finished around 12th because they dropped off just in the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So they
Blackburn were just a shambles.
Well, yeah, they had a terrible second half of the season, and they finished like 13th or something. But you can finish there and have a good season. Yeah. Yes, of course. That was great. We pretty much. To
be honest, they actually went downhill from the moment we played them, and they've not forgiven us yet. It seems like when you read Twitter, it's quite funny.
Yeah, yeah. So I think 11th, but perhaps but that will be closer than that sounds. Perhaps.
Yeah. For me, I chickened out on a range, but we'll take the middle number as my actual prediction. I think we'll be between 10th and 14th for me. Let's say 12th, middle of the road. I think for a start, we're not going to go down, and that'll probably come back to Army, but I just think there's at least 3 teams worse than us.
Oh, there's
last season,
6.
Last season there was the thing that Reading and Derby had those point deductions, which really changed the bottom of the table a lot.
It was a weird one, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. And we were actually were closer to the bottom than it suggested, because if you took away the points deductions, the way the teams played. But that's not how it works, and it doesn't work that way. But I do feel there's a lot more. I think there's definitely 3. There's more than 3 teams worse than us. For me personally, I know I said 10th to 14th, 12th. We finished 19th last season. Anything above 19 for me is a plus, because it's a positive and it's an improvement.
Yeah, I think perhaps.
I don't want to finish 18th or anything like that, obviously, but I will look at that because it is moving forward for me. I know it's not much, but.
Yeah, if we moved up one position every year, it would take about 16 years for us to go up. We don't want to do that.
You'll still be alive. I'll be dead of old age by that point, but you'll still be alive.
Maybe. You're not that much older than me, Well, give yourself some credit.
Well, going back to what you said, I remember watching us in League One, so don't start that one.
Well, I am old enough.
Watching us in League Two.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? Something playoffs or
what Gabe said there. Players should be a lock of the team. That's my thing. I think I think we're going to have a poor start. I honestly do, because I think the team's going to take some time to gel, and I'm worried that a lot of fans. I'm worried because we went up in League One and there was no fans there, and I feel like the fact there was no fans there really helped the fact that we went up.
Oh yeah.
I think we might not have gone bounced straight back up if the fans have been around, because
the
way the team had ended the season the previous year, the way the capitulation it had been. I think the fans might have. Grant probably wouldn't have kept his job for a start. He probably would have gone.
Especially, we were not very good at home, but I think we were like the third best team. We were the third best team.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we won the league, but
our
away record was infinitely better than our home record.
Well, yeah, but we won every game 1-0, and the fans even would have got very frustrated with that. But yeah, what I was going to say is that yes, improvement, getting up to even mid-table 14th or something would be an improvement, but I think that isn't an improvement enough for the we're being sensible and saying we're being reasonable, but
I'm happy with that, but I know a lot of football Twitter, let's say that.
I just mean the owners.
Fans forums won't be happy unless we finish first, though, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. But Shota and Ajahn and Tan, 14th wouldn't be good enough for them, I don't think, something like that. They are pushing for promotion, and although it will be difficult, we do have to have a bit of a push, given the team we have. Otherwise, I think Shota will be the manager next year, because I think we are going to finish high enough.
I noticed Rick Skelton had put out, obviously, his prediction for the full season. Obviously asking, and he put Shota to be manager in May. I think most people did say yes. I'll be surprised if he's not manager in May, even if we have a poor season, because Adrian feels like he has a lot of faith in him. And like you said, I saw you'd put in when you tweeted about the press conference, even if they don't go up this season, he did say it was going to be a long-term project. Yeah,
and he's got
obviously the vein for playoffs, but obviously there's clearly flexibility there at least.
Mm-hmm. And I think that just they were joking about. I think Shota was sort of trying to do a joke that Ajahn said, I have confidence in the team, and even next year, if we don't go up, I have confidence in the manager. And Shota was like, "Few are still be in a job." I think we would have to be doing really badly. We would be if we were in a relegation battle early on, or even later in the season when the players should have got better, then maybe he'll be in trouble. But I do think we'll be mid-table enough. So what do we think of this? Because I think we probably won't have a locked-in one for a little while, especially when Cynic will be back fit in maybe 6 weeks or something, and Traore we've signed. He's going to be injured till Christmas. Maybe Traore is the best player ever.
Technically, we haven't signed Traore.
Yeah. Well, we have, but just because they haven't announced it doesn't mean we're not paying him.
He'll be training with the club. Obviously, it's just a case of they haven't registered him until probably.
Yeah, maybe they haven't registered him yet.
I noticed when the kit numbers came out, the number 15 was still available, as was the number 10. I had a feeling Traore will get the number 15. Yeah. But in terms of a question from Gabe about a lock of a starting 11 before December 1st, I don't think there will be. I think the entire season there's probably going to be changes the way that, because the players we've got fit so many different sort of formations and tactics. It feels like I don't think we'll know our strongest 11 till the new year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tufan, maybe even Seri, definitely the wingers we've got, Longman, Aliar, Cynic, they could all play in any position. Slate is very versatile. Coyle, or the wing backs could play, left back or left wing back. Jones can play defensive midfielder. You could play up front with two strikers, or a midfielder behind the two strikers as a 10. Yeah, so I think, and plus it's a championship. Even if you have a locked-in starting 11, because of the injuries and the fitness you need for this team, even Fulham didn't have like a proper locked-in 11, perhaps, because you have to change it.
I think they have the ability to not have one of as well, to be fair.
True, exactly. And I think, because I don't necessarily think we are, I'm joking, and I have been joking about it, but that we're going to walk the league. We're not going to walk the league, but because the ambition is promotion, you are going to keep changing it until you do go on a winning run.
You hit a winning formula, yeah.
Because they'll think that they can that, like Blackpool with all their League One quality players last year, perhaps, although they did very well, they probably wouldn't want to change it because things were going well enough for them. But this season for us, our ambitions are higher and we've brought these players in. You're going to keep changing it because there is the potential for it to play really well at some point. You just need to find that system that fits it.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think
for the
we'll
record,
have a locked in.
For the record, anyone wondering, Anne told us he thinks we'll finish 11th, probably flirt with the chance of playoffs, but fall short in the end. But it'll be progress and a solid base to build on, which pretty much is what we said, to be fair.
Absolutely. I think the squad will be stronger next year. Even if we have a good season, we're not going to lose that many players because I think the Turkish players, unless like a big Turkish club wants them, they're going to want to stay and be part of the project. And maybe we might lose Baxter or Greaves, perhaps. But maybe that's the thing. No, but perhaps because we've got so many players from abroad, maybe they're less attractive to other English clubs. So maybe we could keep them for longer, perhaps. And some of them are a bit older, like Seri. No one's going to spend big money on him. If he's the Championship Player of the Year, he's 31 next season. He'll be 32 the year after.
Well, if he was Championship Player of the Year, I think someone would spend big money on him.
If he's our Player of the Year or something, he's not necessarily going to want to move again, perhaps. So I think the team will be much stronger next year when we've got you think about the attendances. Last year the attendances weren't so high, but this year, if we have a whole year of higher attendances, the finances might be there, so we can spend a bit more money next year as well, perhaps. And it's difficult to build a strong team from scratch, but you can build a strong team. Like Man City don't sign 8 players a summer, do they? And
when they do spend, they don't usually spend beyond their means, which is ridiculous because they have the means to spend.
That's sensible, isn't it? But next year we won't.
You sell Ferran Torres and Sterling for 80 million, and you bring in like Haaland for 45, 50 million.
Our budget this season's been split between 8 players and soon to be like 11. Next year it probably would only have to be split between 3 or 4 quality players that we could add.
So, yeah, there's an improvement. You would hope so.
Theoretically, so I think next season will be stronger. And if we were to finish 12th, 11th, or have a push at the playoffs, more players are going to want to come here. Shota will be more, if he's still there, more keyed into the Championship, and we'll be able to spend a little bit more with already a good team. So I think, if we are thinking a longer term project, this year promotion, of course, would be fantastic. But as long as we do okay, we can think, well, next year we've got an even bigger chance, I think. But that's optimistic. Maybe we'll finish bottom. Who knows?
Who knows? I think that covers everything for us for the All City stuff. So should we move on to the Championship then, as a general selection?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps. Or should we answer this? Do you see us being busy in January? That depends. If we're first, then
it's
no.
It's too hard to say at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we're bringing in Traore pretty much then. And I think, do you think Ajin's the type of person that if we aren't doing well, will he panic and spend more on a certain player? I'm not overly sure.
I want to say no, but he also brought in Liam Walsh on loan because he had a good free kick.
Yeah, maybe that was shot or something, but I guess we had to do that because we weren't happy with the squad last January. But I think, in a way, because he seems to be aware of the financial implications and the financial fair play. So if there was money to spend on a big player that would improve the team in January, we'd be spending it now anyway. I don't necessarily know or have the funds to do it then. So I don't think we'll be hugely busy. But we would be next summer, I think. Next summer's going to be another big one with lots more signings, I reckon. Yeah, but let's move on to the Championship, I think.
I think maybe do it in reverse order. So who was going down?
Give me a second. Well, I think Rotherham are definitely going down. I'm just going to find my league table prediction on here, but Rotherham are definitely going down. Eves is the main thing about Rotherham. They had Ladapo and Smith, who have both gone to League One. So maybe they're not actually that good if they've gone from the Championship to League One. But their highest goal scoring seasons in the Championship are double the amount of goals the two strikers they brought in to replace them are. Because Eves has only ever scored 5. I can't even remember who the other striker they brought in. Was it Connor Washington? He's not very good either, really. And Smith and Ladapo are better, I think. So they've got worse, and they already had a squad that would be capable with, getting relegated. So I think Rotherham bottom, then the other two who are a bit dodgy off the pitch at the moment, Birmingham and Reading. I don't have much confidence in Reading at all. And then Birmingham, I don't see where the goals are coming from. They've got a very thin squad at the moment as well. So those are my 3 to go down.
Well, this feels incredibly boring because mine are the same 3.
I think it's fairly expected.
I feel like for some of them it's very obvious. At least it feels like an obvious choice because the way that their seasons have gone, their summer, feels like they're destined to not have a good time.
Yeah.
I feel really sorry for Birmingham fans because the whole Lawrence Bassini bullshit that developed. Obviously, thank God they haven't got him.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's really fucking disrupted their summer, a lot of it. And while I think they've still got some decent players, I just feel like it's a bit of a...
Who are their decent players, though? I don't think they've got any.
Well, they've just signed Jude Bellingham's younger brother. So
yeah, Jude Bellingham's younger brother isn't Jude Bellingham, though, perhaps.
Very true.
England internationals, Michael Keane's younger brother is Will Keane. So he's good in League One now, but, it might not run in the family is all I'm saying. But and then, of course, their manager that they brought in, he might be gone now, which would be very disruptive. So I think, they're maybe Blackpool because they've lost Critchley. I don't think Sunderland's squad is amazing.
I think they'll be maybe around the 18th to 20th, maybe a bit higher position. I think they'll be okay. They'll be around where we were last season. Rotherham, there's always one team who comes up who goes back down, and I feel like it's just going to be them.
It's them. That'll be 7 years in a row they've changed leagues.
I would love it if they beat that, but they weren't. And what I would love is if Tommy uses 20-goal prediction came true. I'm sorry, mate, it's not happening. As much as I love you, I'll be amazed if that happens. And who's the other one? Reading just feel like the biggest mistake they could have made was keep Paul Linton. They chose that mistake.
I know. I think they've got a chance because they've kept Lucas Zhao, and he's a good goal scorer. He's the only reason why they stayed up last season, really. But I think when they lose him, because I think he's a good player, could go elsewhere, then they're looking very bad. And I like Shane Long, but he doesn't score anymore for the last 5 years.
He's not the Shane Long who played for Hull City, put it that way.
No, he's about 8 years older and not as good. So would the next one be our biggest underperformers for next season?
I would go for the table as a whole. So not the table as a whole, but who do you think is going to be the playoffs?
Here I've got perhaps my only one controversial pick for the whole league table, but I've got Norwich, which is fine. Middlesbrough, again. I don't think Norwich are going straight back up because they haven't got... Dean Smith's a decent manager, but I think...
they are destined to swap places with Fulham every season,
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I think that you're more likely to get your league table predictions correct if you intentionally predict what you don't think will happen. So Norwich going up, that could happen, so I don't think it will. That's the logic I'm using. And then I've got boring choice, Burnley. Burnley are good. They got good players. don't think much of Vincent Company, though. My only one controversial pick of the table really is Luton. And
I don't think that's too controversial because a lot of people still think they're going to be up there.
I think that if they were a bigger club, like, I don't know, maybe if they were Cardiff, maybe, or Swansea or someone like that who had a few bad years, if they were a team that had got relegated from the Premier League and they'd lost all their Premier League players eventually, but they had that general sense that they're a big club, and then they go down like a Bolton. If Bolton had got relegated, come back up, and done the exact same thing as Luton, bought the exact same players, and then they had that amazing season where they finished higher than everyone thought they were going to. If I predicted them to finish 6th again or get in the playoffs again, that wouldn't be controversial. But because I think it's because they're a smaller club and they're Luton, I say, they're actually going to have another good season. People think that's bad, but they have good players, and I
don't
really
think
rate
that's
their
too
manager.
controversial, to be fair.
Thank you, Will.
That's too controversial a choice. I don't think it's too overall. It's too controversial a choice.
They've got solid championship players. They've got a very good. They've got strikers that I like, Woodrow and the other one, Adebayo, and I really rate Collins. Is it Collins or Nathan Jones, the manager? I really rate him. I think he's done a fantastic job.
They've got a whole City backline of Sonny Bradley and Reece Burke.
Yes, exactly. So I think Luton. That's to round off the playoffs.
Well, my playoffs are. I don't think we've got any that are the same in my playoffs than yours. Which is a lot. Well, they're in no order, but Sheffield United, I think will be in there. I think Burnley will be in this playoffs. Watching them right now. To be honest, watching them right now, they should be about 4-0 up on Huddersfield, and they're only 1-0 up. Watford, I think, will be in the playoffs. And probably the controversial choice now will probably... I'm going to go into... Well, I'm going to mention them again a bit later. Millwall, I think, are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they could do, because they've had a good window. They've lost Jed Wallace, right? But, Honeyman and Afobe, I would have loved if we've kept Honeyman, and I would have actually liked to have signed Afobe for us, I think, because he's solid enough in the Championship. And he's played in Turkey. Millwall, they always finish up outside the playoffs. You'd like to think that
they always go on a playoff push, and usually just finish outside.
I have them 9th because they finish 9th every year. But at some point, you'd like to think they would get lucky and actually.
I think they've had a really good transfer window, and I think because. I know in Millwall, the reputation, you shouldn't like them, but there's something about Millwall, as much as I dislike them, that I do also like.
I like their kits
It's the workmanship about them. It's the way that they've just signed Honeyman, who I felt as soon as I saw that signing was the absolute perfect signing for him, because it's a team where all of his strengths will be absolutely accentuated 100% because everyone around him
hard-working, energetic, kind of.
It felt like a fantastic signing for him. And from what I've heard, he's had a really good preseason with them, which doesn't surprise me at all.
We are definitely we're already regretting letting him go. I think.
I understand why he left. I don't blame him for leaving. I don't blame the club for letting him go.
Yeah, but I don't think. We didn't let him go. It was more that. I suppose maybe we did because perhaps we could have offered him more starting opportunities, perhaps. But I was surprised, especially that Traore is injured. Well, you don't need to replace Traore with another number 10 signing if you keep Honeyman. But, he's gone. We move on. Maybe he'll be rubbish.
So, following that, who's your automatic? Actually, we'll briefly mention, because I forgot to mention him. For Anne, relegation was the same again. Rotherham, Reading, Birmingham, bit of a theme there. And his playoffs were Middlesbrough, Burnley, Sheffield United, and West Brom. I nearly put West Brom in mine. They're probably going to finish 8th, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. So I think Bruce.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
As great as his tactics were not long ago, they just feel a bit past it now.
Maybe, yeah. That happens to every manager, though. It's so difficult to sort of innovate when you're older in your career. It's so difficult to.
Who are your top two then?
Well, the other two things are dark horses and underperformers. Dark horses, I guess.
Top two.
I'm going dark horses as Luton again, and underperformers because we've got a good squad, but I think we're finishing 11th. I think we're going to be the biggest underperformers.
That was the To Hull and Back podcast. I'm Will, and that was Nathaniel.
Yeah, well, we might.
For me, underperformers, I'll probably get stick for this actually. And I know reading what Ant has put, he said the complete opposite to me. I think the underperformers are going to be Sunderland. Because I feel like this season, Sunderland are going to be the Leeds United or Nottingham Forest of the league, in a way to the team where the media is going to absolutely wank themselves silly over because they're the big club in the league and they're obviously great and amazing, but they're a League One team that just got promoted.
Yeah, because it's not like they got promoted immediately.
I think they'll finish about where we finished last season, about 18th, 19th.
Yeah,
I think they'll have an okay season. I don't think they'll have an amazing one. I won't be surprised if they had an amazing one because sometimes a newly promoted team does go straight across. Southampton did it, Sheffield United did it. It's not too ridiculous. I just feel like people are beating them up just slightly too much.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like their manager, O'Neill.
I've revealed there that what Ant's dark horse, not dark horses, but his surprise package is going to be. And he said Sunderland.
I don't think Sunderland can even count as underperformers because I think their squad isn't. They have not improved it, and they've been in the.
My reasoning is based on the fact that obviously, like I say, the media is going to go mental for them.
If they underperform, they'll be.
The media will push them in a way that they're the big club in the league, which technically, statistically, they are probably the biggest club in the league, technically. Just from a historical point of view, anyway, and size, but they've just been promoted, and it's rare that a newly promoted team then has a very successful following season. It does happen, but rare. And I think they're just going to be like most promoted teams who go up and finish in that 16th to 21st area.
I think they've got such big pressure on them because they're this big club that they haven't even got that sort of plucky, all we're together promoted sort of team because they feel like they should do well. So I think that could backfire. And I don't think their squad's a huge amount better. And Gabriel Ramirez says Lyndon Gooch sucks ass as well. So yeah.
That's why they've just signed Ellis. That is why they've just signed Ellis Sims, to be fair.
I think I have Sunderland as the team to just finish one place above the relegation zone, which might be a bit controversial, but yeah. I don't fancy them. Plus, it's Sunderland. I don't like them.
Who were your surprise package then?
Well, Luton, because no one thinks they're going to do well, apparently. I got so much stick.
It's funny because I've just said all that shit about Sunderland. For me, the surprise package is going to be Wigan. And this is purely based on I couldn't think of a team, and I just picked a team at random.
Well, that's the point of the surprise package, isn't it, really? Because
exactly.
I was trying to think of it. Well, I can't think of a surprise package because every team that I think will do well, they're not surprising. And every team that I don't think will do well, they're not surprising because they're going to be as bad as I think they are. So
that was my problem. I couldn't think of a surprise, so I picked a team at random.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've put Stoke, actually. I think maybe Stoke have finished low down, but I think they've got a good team.
That is a surprise because I would never have even thought of them.
Yeah, I think I've written Stoke, but I don't really believe that.
For Anne, well, so your underperformers were who are your underperformers? Your dark horses and surprise.
Well, dark horses. Oh, that's dark horse. Isn't a dark horse and a surprise package?
I would say dark horse is someone who's challenging for promotion. Surprise is just general.
Well, okay. Dark horse
could be the same team, to be fair.
Dark horse is asked for a bit, and then I haven't mentioned this, but I've put Watford outside the playoffs. Not because they've got a bad squad. They've got an amazing squad, but I think that Sarr and especially Dennis are so good. that they can't keep them. But then again, they have parachute payments, and maybe they will. But Dennis has to go. He can't stay in the Championship. So I don't. And they've got such a toxic dressing room, and they will sack their manager. I don't necessarily think, and they've got such a bad home record. I think Watford will do okay, but I don't think. I think they've got the least chance of the relegated team.
I didn't say him, but my dark horse is probably obvious because I've put them in the playoffs. Are probably Millwall, and funnily enough, that was the same with Ant. Ant's dark horses are also Millwall, and he feels the same good transfer business. They're up there in the league usually. Surely one year is going to be their year, to quote thousands and millions of Liverpool fans. It's going to be their year eventually.
Have they replaced Jed Wallace, though? Because he was a huge player for them. I don't know whether they've replaced him properly, have they? So maybe they'll be far worse because he was their best player. Let's pretend they have. We don't have to do any proper research. That's effort. They'll be all right. So shall we do our top two?
Yeah, we'll do our top two.
Who's your top two?
Your two?
You do it. You do it first.
Well, for me, I think because they have to do it because otherwise the case is broken of Norwich and Fulham. Norwich will be top two because it's destined to be that they always get top two one season and then Fulham get it the other. And for me, second is someone who I think you mentioned in your playoffs, but I think they're going to have a great season is Middlesbrough. Did you even mention in your playoffs? I can't remember now.
They were in my playoffs, yeah. I was going to put them top two.
I just feel they've made a couple of decent signings, and I feel like the Chris Wilder effect, now he's had a full summer there, I think they're going to have a good time. And I just feel like the top two is not going to be two relegated teams. Something about it. It feels like the league feels much more closer than it has for a while.
I've not got any promoted teams in my top two, or relegated teams even.
Relegated teams.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about Middlesbrough, I was going to put them top two, but what I was thinking was that I'd seen them being linked with all these amazing transfers that they could make. Then I actually looked at the transfers they have made, and they've not signed the players they've been linked to. And it's a really good side, but then they didn't have any strikers. And they struggled with that last season. They had Ikpeatsu, Balogun, and that guy from Brighton, and none of them really, scored lots of goals. And who have they signed as their striker? Marcus Forsh, who has been very good for Brentford, but was rubbish for us.
You're basing Marcus Forsh on Hull City there, but when he was at Brentford, where he was in a team where it was a bit more of a team nearer the top of the table, let's put it that way. He was ace with Ivan Toney up front. But I couldn't base Marcus Forsh on his Hull City career because there wasn't really a career there.
But I just think he's out of form, and if we didn't want to sign him, even though we are trying to push for promotion, we didn't want to sign him. So I just feel like, and that's a letdown from the players they've been linked to. I think he'll do okay, but I don't think he'll do top two promotion okay. But I think they'll have a good season and they'll find the goals from somewhere, but not top two.
So who are the two then that you've picked that aren't relegated teams?
First I have. Wait a minute. Who's the Sheffield United manager? It's not Jukanovic, is it?
Paul Heckingbottom.
Oh, I'm an idiot then, because I was thinking, Jukanovic is a great manager and Sheffield United are going to get promoted, but he's not even a manager.
Your argument
However, I was thinking about it the same way. I thought that maybe Heckingbottom had started poorly, then they'd brought in Jukanovic and done better. But I think it would be the reverse. I think it would be like Chris Wilder, though, that he's come in and they did better with him. And if they'd had Heckingbottom the whole season, then they would have finished higher. So I think that they will finish higher this season than the playoffs. And they've got a very good side. I think that they'll finish higher because he's there for the whole year. So it's a similar thing, but maybe it shows what research I did, because I thought Jukanovic is such a good manager that they can't have sacked him. But no, Heckingbottom maybe. I just think Sheffield United, I think they could be right, although maybe Sharp's getting a bit older, but I predicted that last season. Didn't happen. Maybe I'll predict it this season as well. Maybe it'll work. But now I feel a bit silly now, to be honest. This prediction malarkey is harder than I thought. Now, the other one, not... I'm probably thinking it's more like it's like 2013 or 2016, but I've gone for West Brom, which, I mean, they have an amazing
Bruce's
team.
Blue and White Army.
They've signed the players we wanted to sign, so they've got good strikers already that they had last year. I think Robinson, if they keep him, and Carlin Grant's great. They've got a good defence, and Bruce is a good defensive manager, allegedly. And they've signed Swift, Malumbi, and someone else in midfield that I like the look of.
That one.
They already had Mowat, and they signed Swift and Malumbi. Someone else I thought they'd signed, but maybe not. But I think they've got a great squad, and I think Bruce, maybe his tactics are outdated, but really, essentially, I just put these top two as the top two because I didn't want to predict Norwich, Watford, or Burnley. So,
well, that's fair enough. I'm played it safe and said Norwich and Watford, which
boring,
is fair enough. Yeah, but you say it's boring, but the Championship's starting to become that.
I know. I really don't approve of the parachute payment sort of thing because it's good to keep
I don't disagree with the concept. I think the way it's rolled out is the problem.
Well, because obviously you need to give them money, otherwise they will go bust, and that's very important. But it doesn't help the. It's same like with the. Is it 51% ownership in Germany? That's a good thing because it's good that the fans get a huge say in the way that how the clubs are being run. But
it's meant that Bayern Munich pretty much destroy the competition.
Bayern Munich win every year, and so it's not entertaining. So maybe it's sensible, but it isn't entertaining, and it doesn't give teams like us or whoever a good enough chance and especially as I don't think that it was supposed to happen this way, but because teams like West Brom and especially Norwich and Burnley, if they stayed up in the Premier League, it probably wouldn't work this way. But because they're in that midpoint between not being good enough for the Premier League,
it's a good financial point to put your club in. I understand why they do it because it's an easy loophole to keep your club in a good position.
Yeah, but I think if they stayed up, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, my problem is, as a fan, I would hate going from a really good season to a really shit season every other year.
Yeah. I don't think it works because those teams who go back up don't stay up.
I mean, to be honest, my personal preference, if we got promoted from the Prem, I'd hope they'd find a rule to keep us down in the Championship because I don't like the Prem.
Well, I mean, maybe if we actually, because we've not actually pushed on to become an established club yet. We've only ever had 2 years in the Premier League.
That's the thing. Most teams who go,
but it can be boring.
It's just, I just don't care about it like I did in 2008. In 2008, it was fantastic because it was new. I didn't give a shit if we finished 20th and beat Derby's record.
I think if we went up now because of
returns.
With the Turkish thing and this new project, I feel this is a different era, so I could be excited. But it wasn't exciting when we went up under Bruce the second time because we shouldn't have gone down in the first place. It didn't feel like a benefit. It felt like we're getting back to where we should have been.
That season was already completely destroyed before it started with Bruce leaving and obviously Phelan taking over. As great as that very quick start was, that season was already a downer from the moment it began.
But I think if we went up now, that'd be exciting. But it's so difficult to stay out now because of the way it's worked with the parachute payments. But they are suggesting a different way of doing it. And Ajahn mentioned that at the conference. He's happy that after next year, they might change it. So hopefully it's better.
I know there was on about doing it.
Because it is rubbish because usually the Championship should have been that essentially anyone could finish anywhere. But that is a whole lot different now. Yes, Watford could go down potentially, but probably not going to happen because the players are so much better. And that's a shame because even 10 years ago when I started following football, it wasn't like that. And I think we've lost a bit of that unpredictability. It's sad.
Yeah. Like I said, I think this is just the way that it goes about. It just feels like there's a gap that's increasing between the Premier League and Championship every season, and it needs sorting out.
I think it would probably sort itself out if the teams who got promoted were half competent and actually, stayed up. Maybe that would work.
Well, the thing is, a lot of teams do stay up. It's the second season they have an issue.
Yeah,
it's the common occurrence. That's the problem. Often, because we're with the joke is made about Norwich and Fulham, but that's only two teams. That's one each season. Because usually it don't always happen. Like say Huddersfield when they went up, the first season they were okay, second season died. Hull City when they first, Hull City Leeds managed to break that trend, unfortunately, this summer. In terms of teams like that, because they were on the verge of doing it. But a lot of teams do it. It's rare that a team does keep it.
Sheffield United did it.
Yeah, Brentford United. Yeah, Sheffield United did it. I think Brentford might do it. It's rare that you get a team getting it and staying it like Palace did eventually, and Brighton have managed to do. Swansea did it for years. Stoke did it. Wigan did it. Teams can do it, but
you'll go down eventually, won't you? You'll go down eventually. I mean, Newcastle have done that, and Villa have got relegated.
Norwich were the perfect example of that because Wigan were the perfect example of that because Wigan would, for years on end, it felt like Wigan would be in the bottom three all season, and then the last few games they'd suddenly play well and stay up, and it felt like that every single season. It just felt like, and then the season they did go down, they won the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I think there is a change needed and I was worried when I saw that there was a news report recently on about the Premier League wanted to change the way that part of the Premier League, the loans. I'm a bit worried about that because you essentially wanted to turn the Championship into feeder teams. And I don't like that. It's like when they made the EFL Trophy have the under-23 teams in it. I don't like that. They tried to move the under-23 teams into the League 2. I remember for a while they was trying it. They wanted to do a League 3. And that's like European Super League levels of stupid.
Yeah, so I've read the headline. What was the actual suggestion about the feeder club loan deal? What was that specifically?
It was a suggestion that... I can't remember it properly off the top of my head, but it was more a suggestion that the clubs focused on trying not to do transfers with these teams and more doing loans and trying not to learn more experienced players, only trying to learn youth players. I need to read it properly, but it was essentially a suggestion. Let's say it was a vague suggestion of making the Championship a reserve league.
The way I thought about it when I saw the headline, I didn't read it, but that if the Championship and the EFL were suggesting this, I'd probably be quite happy about it. But if the Premier League was suggesting it, then it probably isn't a very good idea because it won't have the best interests of the EFL at heart.
Of course it doesn't. It doesn't have the best interests of the EFL. Yeah. It's all about money, as everything is in football now.
I mean, it's only going to get harder if they don't change the parachute payment thing, but it does look quite difficult at the moment. But
I think we're done on the Championship, though, to be fair.
Shall we do League One now? Let's not do that.
Let's not. There are a couple of general ones I was wondering about, actually. I know we've just gone on about how much we hate the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Who's winning the Premier League?
It's going to be Manchester City.
Correct answer, let's move on.
They won the league without a striker. Now they have the best striker in the world, or maybe the second or third best, and will in 2 or 3 years be the best because the other ones will have retired.
That fantastic Nordic meat shield.
Yeah. So it'll be Man City, and down, I think. Not that you've asked.
What are you doing down here? I wasn't even going to suggest that, but
I think it'll be
Brentford. I actually don't know, to be honest.
I think Fulham might stay up. I like Silva.
Fulham will come down. It's meant to be, as always.
I don't know. I just think Michael Silva is either man, maybe not. But then Mitrovic.
He wasn't
I
the man
think
last time. As great as he was for Hull City, he was never the man in the end.
Well, he sort of was, but anyway. I
What went
think
down with him?
I think maybe Brentford, and maybe Forest, but essentially the main one I'm suggesting that I think Southampton are. I think they're going down. I think they've been there too long.
Their form was
they've regressed.
abysmal.
They've regressed as a club. They've sold all their best players, and they haven't really got a lot for it. And
do you think the question with Southampton is they're going to lose 9-0 again this season at some point?
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Armstrong's not good. Che Adams is okay, but not the best. They've not got Brozier anymore.
No, they ain't got. He was Brozier or Brower. What? I don't know.
And I think they're for it this year. They've just been there a little bit too long, so maybe Southampton.
It's not a bad shout. I'm not sure about the Prem. Like I said, I think Brentford will have second season syndrome. That's the one I'd hope. I really hope Everton go down.
But the parachute payments and the Sky, it'd be awful on Sky, wouldn't it? It'd be, But the thing is, they'll sack Lampard if they're going that way. So maybe they won't.
Maybe.
I don't know. But
who
I think
do you think is going to? Okay, then. Who do you think is going to win? We'll just do the Champions League. We won't do both with the Europa League and Europa.
I don't care.
Champions League.
I don't watch the Champions League because it's on BT and I don't have it, so I don't really care. Sorry,
I don't have it. I just go to the pub.
Yeah, well, Champions League, meh. The Real Madrid.
Safe and probably correct answer.
Yeah, Real Madrid.
I'm going to be boring.
Ancelotti will do the.
I'm going to be boring and say Manchester City will finally actually do it, but no, not really. Fuck it, Tottenham Hotspur.
If Tottenham Hotspur won the Champions League, I think that's. I mean, is that like a bigger? What's more unlikely, England winning a tournament or Spurs winning the Champions League?
Tottenham winning the Champions League.
Yeah, I think so. They can't even scrape into a League Cup.
A cracking segue you've created there, because my final prediction ask was going to be, because for some ungodly reason we're playing it in the middle of winter. Well, here in the middle of winter.
Well, we'll probably do World Cup episodes, won't we? Because we won't have the Championship.
We did Euros episodes.
That was the first one I did
at the time.
We can do that then, because we want to talk about Alia, maybe Elder. We want to talk about Tete. That's one news from the press conference.
We're talking about Jacob Greaves being in the heart of the England defence.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even know Ghana had qualified for the World Cup. I wasn't thinking. But I'm looking forward to Alia. I'm looking forward to Alia tearing the English defence a new one. Yeah. But Tete was saying, "Oh, I'd like to go to the World Cup," and I'm like, "But mate, you didn't get there." But they did.
If the FA had attempted to self-put Serena Wiegmann in as the men's manager, well, not now. Maybe give it until after Sunday. Give Serena Wiegmann the England manager's job for the men, and we probably would win the World Cup. But who do you think's going to win in Qatar?
England. No, I have absolutely no idea. Not Germany, because they're rubbish. Not Spain, because they're rubbish.
And I would never say that Germany is rubbish.
France can't win it again, because that never happens. Italy aren't there. England aren't going to win it, because we're England. Brazil always have 18 billion players I've never heard of, and they're all great. But I've not heard of them, so I can't say.
It's funny that, because my prediction is Brazil.
Portugal can't go. They can't win it. That one, because they're not good enough. Uruguay, and I can't say Argentina.
Belgium's golden generation are too old.
They're all 6 feet under. Yeah, so I think I would go for.
For me, it's going to be Brazil. Obviously, I want it to be England, but I just don't see it.
I was going to say Argentina, but that's ridiculous. Because they're rubbish, aren't they?
You say that they won the Copa America. It's Messi's last tournament.
I was thinking about the Heat.
It will be Messi's last tournament anyway, I imagine.
I was thinking about the Heat and maybe who would do well there. Maybe Brazil's not a bad shout. But I can say England seriously, can't I?
Who England?
Well, no.
I mean, you can say it. You can say it seriously. It's just it won't seem serious.
Well, that's the thing, though. If we were another country, or England, or a different country had got to the semi-final of the World Cup and then the final of the Euros, and then the winner of the Euros, isn't there, then you would be able to say, oh, that team who's done well in the previous tournaments would do well again. But because it's England, you can't say that. So.
That's because everyone hates us. We've become
Brazil.
the Millwall of international football.
Yeah.
All the other nations hate us. We don't care.
Yeah, always there and thereabouts. Really, I'd need to actually analyse the draw because I think the draw actually really does determine. I can't even remember.
I can barely remember it was England's group. I know it's Iran, USA, and.
Wales.
Scotland, Wales. Fucking Scotland, what are we on about?
The how far I've looked is that we have those three. Then we will likely play Ecuador or Senegal in the round of 16, and then we will probably be playing France. So I think we'll probably...
The quarter-final exit is then?
Yeah, but then we've been lucky. We've been lucky in the last two quarterfinals.
So often. I've put up with that quarterfinals so many times, and you're younger than me.
I've only seen us lose in one quarterfinal, and that was the Euros against Italy. That was like the fourth game I ever watched ever.
And we didn't even consider that was boring. That one, fucking hell.
What's his face?
I remember watching.
Johnson should have scored.
I remember watching us against Brazil in my school hall in Wivensey High, Wivensey Infant School Hall. I remember watching it on a little telly. Getting disappointed because David Seaman can't jump.
Yeah, the thing is, that hurts me, even though I wasn't watching it at the time. It still hurts me that happened in the past, weirdly. But yeah, we'll probably lose the quarterfinal. But then again, maybe Southgate's juju will work again, and we'll somehow draw easy teams in that stage.
I say sack Southgate as much as I love the man, or I have loved the man until recently.
I think that's ridiculous myself.
Get Serena Wiegman in.
I think
the men's going to bring some. Obviously, the women are going to do it on Sunday.
I think if we,
the men will follow up.
I think if we finish whatever round we get to at the World Cup, I think it'll be gone anyway. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think it'll be his last tournament. To be fair, regardless.
Yeah, maybe he'll stay on for the next one. But
it's his last tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he's done really well, but, if he's had 3 tournaments...
I joke about Serena Wiegman. Well, I say I joke. I'd love it.
It's not going to happen.
Graham Potter. Get Graham Potter in.
Yeah. I think that, Graham Potter. I think that would be really good.
I think we should probably end off, just bring it back to Hull City. We're playing Bristol very soon.
Oh, we need to predict the... should we do the lineup, or is that too long?
We've been going for a while now, so I think we'll just do a quick score prediction.
Yeah. Well, I've predicted it twice already on various platforms. 2-2.
You bastard! Because on my mate's group chat, I also said 2-2, but no, I can't really go for that because you said it.
Of course you can.
I'm going to say 2-1 Hull City.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think we will play a whole lot better than the pre-season games, but, also maybe not. Yeah, 2-1, 2-2, or whatever. Something like that.
But I think that's everything for a season preview, to be fair. We'll probably miss some, but what's even the point in going back and checking? We'll just come to that bridge. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Certainly. Yeah, well, this has been fun, and hopefully we'll have more people on for the next one.
And may remember his laptop next time.
Yeah, and if you've not seen it already, if you've not seen it already, I did a opposition preview with Matthew Withers of the 3 Peeps and a Podcast He's a Bristol City fan. I recorded that on Wednesday night, so check that out if you want to see what a Bristol City's fan, what their view on the game's going to be. And other than that, well, that's the end. I don't know how Ant usually ends these. Just does he say goodbye? I don't know.
I am very tempted to just cut it. I am very tempted to just cut it off as soon as you said that there.
Well, shall we just cut it off anyway?
What you mean? We should finish it mid-sentence?
Yeah.
We should finish it mid-sentence.